MacDonald Partridge is a story about a little boy who lives next door to a retirement home and the friendships he has with the people who live there, especially Miss Nancy, an old woman who has lost her memory. Wilfred Gordon decides that he will help her get her memory back. There once was a small boy called Wilfred Gordon MacDonald Partridge, and what's more, he wasn't very old either. His house was next door to an old people's home, and he knew all the people who lived there. He liked Mrs. Jordan, who played the organ. He listened to Mr. Hosky, who told him scary stories. He played with Mr. Tippet, who was crazy about cricket. He ran errands for Mrs. Mitchell, who walked with a wooden stick. He admired Mr. Drysdale, who had a voice like a giant. But his favorite person of all was Miss Nancy Allison Delacourt Cooper, because she had 4 names, just as he did. He called her Miss Nancy and told her all his secrets. One day, Wilfred Gordon overheard his mother and father talking about Miss Nancy. "Poor old thing," said his mother. "Why is she a poor old thing?" asked Wilfred Gordon. "Because she's lost her memory," said his father. "It isn't surprising," said his mother. "After all, she is 96. "What's a memory?" asked Wilfred Gordon. He was always asking questions. "It's something you remember," said his father. But Wilfred Gordon wanted to know more, so he called on Mrs. Jordan, who played the organ. "What's a memory?" asked Wilfred Gordon. "It's something from long ago, my child, something from long ago." He called on Mr. Hosky, who told him scary stories. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something warm, my child, something warm." He called on Mr. Tippet, who was crazy about cricket. "What's a memory?" asked Wilfred Gordon. "It's something that's precious as gold, young man, something as precious as gold." He called on Miss Mitchell, who walked with a wooden stick. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something that makes you laugh, my darling, something that makes you laugh." He called on Mr. Drysdale, who had a voice like a giant. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something that makes you cry, my boy, something that makes you cry." So, Wilfred Gordon went home again to look for memories for Miss Nancy, because she had lost her own. He looked for the shoebox of shells he had found long ago last summer and put them gently in a basket. He looked for the puppet on strings, which always made everybody laugh, and he put that in the basket too. He remembered with sadness the medal which his grandfather had given him, and he placed it gently next to the shells. Next, Wilfred Gordon found his football, which was as precious as gold. And last of all, before going to Miss Nancy's, Wilfred Gordon went into the hen house and took a fresh, warm egg from under a hen. Then, Wilfred Gordon called on Miss Nancy and gave her each thing, one by one. "What a dear, strange child, to bring me all these wonderful things," thought Miss Nancy. Then she started to remember. She held the warm egg and told Wilfred Gordon about the tiny speckled blue eggs she had once found in a bird's nest in her aunt's garden. She smiled at the puppet on strings and told Wilfred Gordon about the one she had shown her sister and how she had laughed with a mouthful of porridge. She touched the medal and talked sadly of the big brother who she had loved, who had gone to war and never returned. She bounced the football to Wilfred Gordon and told him about the day she had met him and all the secrets they had told. And the two of them smiled. and smiled, because Miss Nancy's memory had been found again by a small boy who wasn't very old either.